This is where you have the opportunity to evolve or not. You have to ask yourself, what is your choice there? And I can't present it more graphically or more cleanly, really. Getting rid of all the gobbledygook on top of it and all the muddle and new age ways of viewing our situation. This is bringing it down to, how shall I use this relationship now? Who shall I be in it, and what am I going to do in it? So these are the requirements to actually differentiate and become truly intimate. You have to be willing to confront yourself instead of the other. You have to have self-disclosure about reporting what is underneath the blue strategy behaviors, what lies underneath that in terms of your beliefs about yourself. She is nice and the overfunctioner because she believes what about herself? I am running and scared. I'm running and taking control because I believe what about myself? So self-disclosure instead of trying to read the other and tell the other what their problem is. One of our rules in our work here is my opinion of you is none of your business. You want to save 95% of your problems in a relationship? Put that on your wall. My opinion of you is none of your business. Because the only time the opinion comes out is when you're upset. And it's a weapon. And you have no right to speak, actually. Because you just want to hurt. So with Catherine and I, we've had many intervals in this process. And it is stopping. Like it's just this is a lifelong process. It's a wonderful process. I had to enter a relationship to learn how to be in one. I am no longer the untouchable. I am no longer the runner. I meet myself in all of these things, and I, just like you, can spend just as much time avoiding the real work as doing it. Scary business. We both have to dig deep and reach down and get a hold of, for me, to get a hold of myself instead of getting a hold of the doorknob. And Catherine has to dig down deep and get a hold of herself instead of me. So here's Catherine and I, back to our story. It came to a real critical place a number of years ago where my controller, my setting the rules in the relationship, my need for distance was one of my greatest tricks. And again, it wasn't conscious, but one way of alleviating the conflict, it would be to scare her. And I would say, I don't know if this is working out, Catherine. And when I said that, I had no intention of ending the relationship. All I knew was it worked. That's pretty bad. But I was scared, and whatever I had to do in order to get safe, I did. And we do. It's really unfair. Because what am I doing when I say we have power with each other, we hit each other where it hurts? I am the only one that has power with her there, and now I'm going to threaten to abandon her when that's her Achilles heel to begin with. She's going to leave the room and reject me, knowing that that's my Achilles heel. That's where you can really get me. You're like your father. And we'll get each other there as a weapon. Anyways, I said this. Maybe this isn't working out, Catherine. And she would normally just put it on another chameleon behavior and act and just make it all okay. Move the goalposts. But instead, she turned to me and said, Dwayne, the next time you say that, I'm going to believe you. This was a game changer. She dug in deep, got a hold of herself, asking herself, really, what's the point of being here if I'm actually causing this man, if I'm making him unhappy? If he really wants to leave, maybe, in all love for him, maybe I should let him. Maybe I should stop trying to convince somebody of what they don't want to do and respect that. So she said, the next time you say that, it's a deal. And it stopped me dead in my tracks. The game was over. She brought herself into the relationship. It was very brave of her. And I stood there, and I think for 2 days. I thought it was for an hour, but she claims it was 2 days before I answered. And I reflected rather than reloaded. Reflected. What is going on for me? What's really happening here? What an irresponsible person I am. What an emotionally irresponsible person I am that I dare to let her assume the responsibility of explaining the difficulty in the relationship because she's been problematic and therefore I'm going to go. How bloody immature. How sensationally emotionally irresponsible. What an abuse of my power. And how frightened I was underneath it all. So instead, I confessed to Catherine. This is me showing up. Confess what's inside. I told her that I confessed that I have a fear of losing myself and have my whole life. And I started telling her the whole story with my sisters and everything that happened to my dad and my drinking and how I just was not one that came out of high school looking for, I can't wait to get married and have a family. No, I just wanted to go to the world. I just wanted to get out in the world. In order to preserve myself, that family, relationships would just eat me up. I told her about the religion thing and guilt of what goes on for me around the guilt around having any sexual desires whatsoever. My fear of criticism, I confess that, what criticism actually does to me. Not as a dictum to her to stop criticizing me, more to say, this is what the button you press in me that you're not responsible for, you're just touching it. What gets activated in me is me. I confess that this is my problem. I confessed to her how much I needed her approval but never told her. I just pretended I didn't need it. And on the flip side of this, I also confessed how much I care and love her and refused to really let her know that. I confessed how frightened ultimately that I will be rejected. How, despite her wonderful values and protocol and emotional responsibility, how frightened I am that she still could abuse her power with me. I got a hold of myself rather than getting a hold of the door or more control. She got a hold of herself rather than a hold of me, like I said. She confessed how little she considers herself. And she wasn't blaming me for that. She said, I don't consider myself, and I train others not to consider me either. And how much she needed me to give her a self. And how unfair that was. And here was the one that really, really changed her life and is still resonating with her. She confessed that her pursuing personality to be needed, right? Irreplaceable, necessary, needed. I'm going to make you need me. Is designed to be wanted. That's her ultimate goal. And she realizes how that could actually never happen. Because the only part of me that she is letting me know about is the role, the one that is needed, which is not her. That's a role. That's not who she is. And that to be wanted is her authentic self. But if her authentic self was never in the relationship, how could I ever want it? I'm not in relationship with it. This is a game changer for Catherine. That she has to bring her real self into the... If she wants to be wanted, then she better bring the part of her that is going to receive that into the relationship, because it wasn't there. And for me, it became the life changer for me was, again, so many therapies for guys like me would be encouraging her to give me space and allow me to do this and blah, blah, blah. When really the task for me is to be an individual, but to be an individual when I'm close. Not just when I have to get away to get my individuality, but actually be an individual, be myself while I am being close. That's my task. That's where I have to differentiate to the degree that she's becoming important to me. Can I be myself in the presence of all that stuff running? What a concept. That's the only thing for me to do. That's the only thing for me to focus on. Not how I explain how I can't be myself because you're this and you're that. That's why I can't be myself. It's because of you. And how preoccupied we are in explaining our pain by so much outside of ourselves and missing the boat entirely. I say save yourself years and years and years and years. Let's get to work. That's what we do in our awakening workshops. Like, let's get to the real problem, shall we? The real one. You can be known. There is nothing more exhilarating than actually finally being known in a non-blaming. I'm just talking about me here. You're taught a process called the 4-step getting real process, which walks through this whole process basically. And I tell you, there is no sex like sex after a 4-step.